Most shelter dogs bark, whine, or wag their tails wildly, desperate to be chosen. But this one just sat there, still, silent, and staring. There was something almost human behind those eyes. When she took him home, she thought she'd rescued a quiet puppy. But in just a few days, strange things started happening. Things no ordinary dog could do. And when she finally found the truth, it was something far beyond anything she ever expected. Her name was Emily, soft-spoken, kind-hearted, and recently heartbroken. Just a few months earlier, she had lost her mother, the only family she had left. Her once vibrant home now felt empty, echoing with silence and loneliness. Emily had always loved animals, and the idea of adopting a dog brought a flicker of hope back into her quiet world. One rainy Sunday morning, with nothing but a heavy heart and a borrowed umbrella, she walked into the local shelter. She wasn't looking for anything specific, just a companion, something to fill the aching void. She passed rows of energetic dogs barking for attention, but none of them felt right. Then she saw him, curled in the corner, quiet, still, and watching her with those deep, knowing eyes. The shelter was a symphony of chaos, paws tapping on concrete floors, tails thumping against metal gates, and barks echoing off the walls. Volunteers bustled about, trying to keep the energy under control. But in the middle of it all, one kennel stood out, not because of noise, but because of its stillness. Inside, a small puppy sat perfectly still, head tilted, eyes fixed on Emily, as if he had been waiting for her all along. She knelt down, peering through the bars. The pup didn't flinch, didn't bark, just continued staring. A volunteer approached and said, "That one's been here for weeks, doesn't act like the others, barely makes a sound." Emily felt a tug in her chest. There was something unspoken in the way he looked at her, calm, steady, almost like he understood. Without thinking twice, she said softly, "I'll take him." And just like that, the quiet puppy had a home. The ride home was oddly peaceful. The puppy didn't whine, didn't squirm. He simply sat in the passenger seat, eyes scanning the road ahead like a seasoned traveler. Emily kept glancing over, half expecting him to finally act like a normal pup. But he remained calm, composed. When they arrived, he stepped into her house like he already knew the place. She named him Shadow because he quietly followed her everywhere, always present, never intrusive. Unlike most puppies, Shadow didn't chew on shoes or bark at the doorbell. Instead, he sat near windows, watching the outside world with quiet intensity. He seemed to listen when she talked to him, tilting his head thoughtfully, almost as if he understood every word. At night, he'd curl up at the foot of her bed, always alert, always watching. It was comforting, but also a little strange. It started small. One morning, Emily forgot to lock the back door before leaving for work. When she returned, she found it shut and bolted from the inside. At first, she thought she must have locked it without realizing, but then it happened again and again. Shadow was the only one home each time. Then came the night noises. Emily would wake to soft footsteps in the hallway, but when she checked, no one was there. Just Shadow, sitting alert near the door, as if standing guard. One evening, she dropped a glass in the kitchen. Before she could react, Shadow dashed forward and pushed her back, just as a shard flew toward her face. It missed her entirely. She began testing him, casually giving random commands he'd never been taught. Close the drawer, turn off the light, and he'd do it, almost perfectly. Emily's curiosity grew. This wasn't just a smart dog. This was something far beyond that, something deliberate, something trained. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Shadow than met the eye. One weekend, she took him to a highly recommended vet, hoping for answers. The vet examined him carefully, his teeth, his gait, even his reflexes. "He's in perfect health," she said, "but he doesn't behave like a typical shelter dog. His muscle tone, posture, alertness. This is a dog that's been trained for something." Puzzled but intrigued, Emily searched online forums and dog behavior groups, posting videos of Shadow's actions. Some were amazed. Others thought it was a prank. One comment stood out. "That's not a pet. That's a working dog, military or law enforcement, maybe even black ops. Determined, Emily tracked down a retired K9 handler living a few towns over. She arranged a visit, and the moment he laid eyes on Shadow, his expression changed. "Where did you get this dog?" he asked, eyes narrowing. Emily hesitated, unsure. The man knelt and whispered a single word in German. Instantly, Shadow snapped to attention. The retired handler stared at Shadow, his voice low and measured. "This isn't just a trained dog," he said. "This is a Tier 1 K9, military grade. These dogs undergo years of specialized training. They respond to over 200 commands, many in foreign languages. Some are even used in classified missions." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. How would a dog like that end up in a shelter? The handler shook his head slowly. He must have gone missing during a mission. Sometimes when handlers are killed or operations are compromised, dogs are left behind. Maybe someone found him and dropped him off without realizing what he was. Emily looked at Shadow, now sitting obediently at her side. The calmness, the silence, the watchful eyes, it all made sense now. She was offered help contacting the authorities, even a military unit that might reclaim him. But when Shadow looked up at her, eyes steady and loyal, Emily knew. He had chosen her. Whatever his past was, his future was now hers. And she wouldn't give him up. Not for anything. Emily spent the next few days in a daze, torn between doing what was expected and what felt right. Officials contacted her, requesting to evaluate Shadow and confirm his identity. The thought of losing him made her stomach twist. He wasn't just a dog anymore. He was family. He had protected her, comforted her, and brought something back into her life she thought she'd lost forever. Purpose. When the military representative finally visited, Shadow's reaction was unexpected. He didn't run to them. He stayed beside Emily, calm and steady, refusing to leave her side. The officer knelt down, gave a faint smile, and said, "He's made his choice. The government wouldn't reclaim him, not this time." From that day on, Emily gave Shadow the life he never had. No more orders, no more missions, just peace, long walks, and quiet evenings on the porch. And though he never barked or played like a normal dog, he never left her side. He wasn't just her pet, he was her guardian, her silent protector. Months passed and the seasons changed. Shadow adapted to his new life with quiet grace. Emily often found him sitting by the window, calmly watching the world, as if still guarding something precious. Neighbors began to know him not just as her dog, but as the gentle sentinel of their street. Emily, too, had changed. The sadness that once filled her home had faded, replaced by warmth, laughter, and a quiet sense of safety. Shadow never needed words. His presence said everything. When strangers asked where she found such a special dog, she'd just smile and say, "He found me." Because sometimes the souls we rescue are the ones sent to rescue us. And in that quiet puppy, Emily didn't just find a pet. She found purpose, protection, and a partner for life.